let's talk a little bit about this big thing about the 99% and the 1% and how the left is going to take care of the 99% and mess over the 1%. I don't know how to break this to you, and it's probably going to come to news to be news to a lot of you, but there always has been, always will be one percenters. And the difference is you have two types of one percenters. You have the group that is the producers, they're the inventors, they're the entrepreneurs, they're the business people that create the jobs and make money. They do things and they create things. Those are the one percenters. And that's one group of one percenters. And quite frankly, in the countries that are successful, that is the 1% that made them successful, especially in America. It was the one percenters. It was the people that were willing to take chances, the people that were willing to take risks, which our president doesn't know anything about. So when he stands up and says, you didn't do that, you didn't earn that, well, he's absolutely can understand because he hasn't earned anything or done anything. It's been kind of given to him, and he's been pushed along and prodded along and brought along by a group of people. So, he understands that philosophy that you didn't do it. But it was the pioneers that developed this country. It was people that got on a boat with a shirt on their back and came over here as pilgrims and suffered through all kinds of things to build this country and make it what it was. So those are the one percenters. They're the Bill Gates and the other people, the Dells that started in a garage and have made millions, and God bless them for it. They're the people that have built cities and built all kinds of things and gone out and farmed and taken the risk to do that. And in a lot of cases lost on two or three occasions, but kept going and learned from their mistakes. That's the one percenters that built this country. That's the one percenters and the less than one percenters that made this country great. Then there's the kind that Hillary Clintons and the Barack Obamas and a lot of the Democrats and the communists and the socialists are. And those are the people that have stolen the money because they didn't earn it, but it's been given to them. They got it through bribes. They got it. Well, let's take Putin, for example. There's a good example. There was a gentleman who built their oil industry over there, made it one of the biggest oil industries in the country, in the world. And Putin wanted to buy it for pennies on the dollar, and the guy wouldn't sell. Why should he? He built it. So what did Putin do? He drums up some charges, these trumped up charges, and then put the guy in jail. And guess what? Took over the oil industry, and now Putin's a billionaire. Take the Castro brothers. They've never invented anything. They've never created a job. They've destroyed lots of jobs, never created any, and they're both billionaires today. While their people are suffering, they're billionaires. Take the Clintons. When's the last time, other than cronies looking after them, when's the last time they created a job? When's the last time they invented anything except hot air? And yet they're multimillionaires. And she is so arrogant that when she does give a speech, she demands to be flown on the top of the line jet, stay in the presidential suite in every hotel, and have catering service and demands what should be catered and the best limousines. Plus, she gets $300,000 for making a speech, which is ridiculous. And her husband gets $500,000. There isn't anybody in the world except maybe Jesus Christ, if he comes back, that would be worth $500,000 for a speech, and I guarantee you Jesus wouldn't charge that. So you've got two types of one percenters. And while they're out there preaching against the 1%, they is the 1%. I love it when Hillary goes out there and says, there's income equality. Well, I got news for you. There aren't many executives, even though they may make $1 million salary, there are not many executives that make $500,000 for a 45-minute speech, plus expenses. So while she's out there preaching against it, she is one. She are one of the one percenters, and she's not one of the producing one percenters. She's one of the taking one percenters. So, you got to be careful who's telling you what. There's always going to be 1%. I don't care who you elect. There's going to be one percenters. And a big group that's getting ignored, which I have to laugh about, and the reason they're getting ignored again is because they is who we're talking about, and that's lawyers. My God, the biggest transfer of wealth, or certainly one of the biggest transfers of wealth in the last 30 years in this country, has been to attorneys who make, in some cases, billions of dollars off of a single case, while the people they're representing get nickels or dimes. I'll give you an example. Several years ago, when I had my company, I had 3 American Express cards, and one day I'm looking at my bill, and there's a 93-cent charge for a class action suit. So I got curious, and I went on the internet and I looked up this class action suit, and evidently American Express had, and I'm sure it was accidental, mischarged on interest. So the lawyers got together, somebody found out about it, and they got together and they sued American Express. Now, worldwide, if you can imagine how many plaintiffs there were. Well, for every plaintiff, they got 93 cents. The lawyers for every plaintiff got about $7,500 plus expenses. And that may not be exact, but they made billions off of it. And it's just ridiculous the amount of money the attorneys make, and nobody ever talks about attorneys. They talk about Wall Street. Well, at least Wall Street's creating some kind of job. They're investing in companies that create jobs. Lawyers, on the other hand, destroy companies. A lot of the companies that left this country not only did it because of taxes and unions, they left because of liabilities. This is, I think, nearly the only country in the world that plays football the way we play it anyway. And I don't think anybody in this country builds football helmets. Why? Because of liabilities. There were plane companies that used to build airplanes here, small airplanes, private airplanes. A lot of them don't do that anymore because of liabilities. Drug companies, you gotta wonder, and this has to do with lobbying. That's a whole nother case. But every night on television, if it weren't for the attorneys advertising against drug companies, I think the TV stations would go broke. And you wonder, wait a minute, don't we spend billions of dollars on the Food and Drug Administration? How do these drugs get through them and all of a sudden make lawyers rich? Well, it's called lobbying. The lawyers have big lobbying firms, and the drug companies do, and they push these drugs through even though they shouldn't be pushed through, and the lawyers don't care because they get to sue, and that's why your drugs cost so much, and you can go somewhere else in the world and buy drugs for pennies on the dollar because they don't have the lawsuits. And that could easily be simplified very easily. That's a whole nother thing, but just very quickly, we could solve the legal system in this country by simply going to loser pays. That means if somebody sues you, you go hire, if you're innocent or in the right, you go hire the most expensive lawyer you can. And if they lose, they pay your legal fees. Now, lawyers have jacked the prices up so much that in most cases, if a corporation gets sued, they'd rather settle, even if they're not wrong. They'd rather settle than go to court because it's so damn expensive. Well, who arranged that? Lawyers. It's insane. So I think I read a few years ago that 75% of all the lawyers in the world are in this country. Does that not amaze you? We're graduating more lawyers than engineers and doctors. That's a tragedy, and it can be easily changed. But the 1%ers, including the lawyers, there again, they don't produce jobs, they destroy jobs. So there's two kind of 1%ers. The liberals, the Democrats, they're okay with the 1%ers. They talk about the Koch brothers on the conservative side. Well, the Koch brothers are patriotics and patriots, and they produce jobs. But nobody, even the conservatives, don't talk about George Soros, who has been called an economic terrorist for the number of countries he's gone in and destroyed the economy of countries around the world, and has pledged to destroy the economy of America. And he funds the left more than the Koch brothers fund the right. And even the conservatives, which shows you what a conspiracy there is between the two of them, that the Republican Party is, in my opinion, just the loyal opposition to keep a real third party from coming along and doing some good, because they don't even bring. I've never heard a conservative hardly or a Republican senator or congressman bring up George Soros. And George Soros does not create jobs. He destroys jobs. He's made billions by manipulating currency and has vowed to manipulate currency in this country. So it just doesn't make any sense that they don't talk about him, but yet everybody knows who the Koch brothers are. They're supposedly bad because they fund conservative, patriotic, constitutional people and organizations, and yet nobody talks about, or very few people talk about, George Soros. Look up George Soros and his record. This is a very evil person, in my opinion, and is out to destroy the country, and has admitted that. He said it on several occasions that he's going to bring this country down economically. And he'll make billions doing it because he'll short the dollar or whatever, and he knows a lot about what's going on. So, and he's funding many anti-American organizations, and nobody criticizes him. You don't hear any of the news media criticizing him. Unfortunately, you don't hear any Republicans using his name. But boy, the Democratic congressmen and senators and newscasters and every other mouthpiece talk about the Koch brothers. Well, the Koch brothers create jobs in this country, and they're patriots, and they're getting lambasted. And this guy who's trying to destroy the country, nothing said. And he's a multi-billionaire. So yes, there will always be one percenters. The choice is, who do you want to be the one percenters? The one that create jobs, or the one that steal the money and no jobs get created? The choice is yours. This is American Truth, and I appreciate you listening.